video is going to be a follow-up on Hollow Earth, my encounter with the Dero. I'm going to look at the technology that was in this experience that the Dero had, and what capabilities that they had, and what they were doing from my perspective. And thank you everyone who has subscribed and commented, and anyone new out there, I ask that you subscribe. And I am working on new material and stuff's on the way to this channel on a regular basis, so kick back and relax and enjoy. I made a video called Hollow Earth, my encounter with the Dero, and basically in 1998 I was in my bedroom. I woke up one morning and smoked a cigarette. As soon as I was done smoking the cigarette, I put it out in the nightstand next to me, and then my arm was twisted behind my back. I was scared to look over at first, but I finally looked over to see what it was because it felt familiar, similar to an experience that happened when I was a child at 5 years old. And when I looked up, I seen a being with a long floppy nose and blue around the nose. The being was laughing at me with a honking, weird sounding laugh, like haw, 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 haw. And when he done that, I noticed that he had a device in his hand. He took this device, he stuck it to the side of my head, and when he done that, I seen a door open up in the corner of my room. It appeared to be about 75 feet away, guessing, maybe 100 feet. And when that happened, I was scared because of the shadow being that came into the doorway. That being began to morph into a sinister looking shape. And when he done that, all of a sudden, coming from the right, I heard a roar that sounded 10,000 times worse than the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. And it roared for maybe a minute straight, which is a very long time. That roar went on and on and on. And when that happened, the being in the doorway looked towards the direction that I thought the sound was coming from. It acted like it was scared of what the sound was, and the being that was making the sound, whatever it was. And both the Dero let go of me, and that thing shut the door, and they were gone. That is a basic overview of what happened. Now, I wanted to look at the technology that this being had and what he was capable of doing in shifting time and space. First off, let's talk about Dr. Michael Persinger, who is a behavioral scientist who invented the Corin helmet, or better known as the God helmet. Now, this God helmet has a magnet on each side, a motorcycle helmet basically, with magnets on each side near the temporal lobes. And during these experiments that he ran, he could turn on the magnetic field around the temporal lobes and then bombard your brain basically. And if your brain, he's claiming, would have to interpret without using memory, and basically he would disrupt the brain, and he could trigger feelings that there were other beings in the room. So he said that all experiences come from the brain. They derive in the brain. And so any experience that we have with God and things like that are originating in our brain, is what he is saying. But I think that that this experiment that he was running, similar to the technology that Dero had, was something the size of a looked about like a grill lighter, which was stuck to the side of my head, actually on this side. And I think that it shuts the brain off so that you're no longer using your flesh brain, and you are basically tapping into your spiritual brain. Because people who have near-death experiences and things like that, I think that they're detaching from their physical body and then when they come out of their body, they can see themselves laying on a table. And in one particular case, they went up through the roof, and as they went out of the roof, this woman seen a red shoe on the roof. And when she came back to her body, she said, "There's a red shoe on the roof." And everybody was thinking, "Oh, and I'll just go up there and look." So they went up there and looked, and there was a red shoe on the roof. So that could not have originated in the brain. That's proof positive in my mind that was an external, it was extrinsic, not intrinsic experience. So the brain, I believe that these Deros have, and we're just calling them Deros because of that's the drawings and the story that I had read of, I remember Lemira, that's what they call them. So we're just going to call them that for argument's sake, and I'm not going to bombard you with the Bible at this moment anyway. And so anyway, I think that this technology is basically disrupting the brain and what it perceives, so that you can perceive with the spiritual mind, because that's what these beings are. They're spiritual beings. They don't originate from this dimension. They are outside this dimension. So to come into this dimension, they have to have ways to do that, and ways to manipulate you, to bring you into experiences into other dimensions. And so I believe technology such as something like this. Now this thing, what did it do? It had something similar to this Michael Persinger's God helmet, because he stuck it right there at the temporal lobe, and he basically made me had experience that had fear in it, and Michael Persinger is able to do that. He can make you experience stuff that's fearful and things that are good, and I don't know all the details on how he's able to do that, but I know that some people experienced seeing fire, and some people thought they seen angels, aliens, but I think they really are seeing them. That he's shutting the mind down, and they're perceiving with the spiritual mind, and then they are seeing and sensing other beings that are around, and they're sensing into another dimension, because our spirit body doesn't, I don't think, exist in this dimension. It exists in another dimension, and our flesh bodies exist in this dimension. So this God helmet is very interesting to me. I think it's a very neat experiment that this man has come up with, but I also believe that he is not the first one to come up with it. That being that was in my room in 1998 had technology, and he used it, and basically it operated the same way that this God helmet did. And I also wonder, did this device that he had, that he was using, open up the doorway that was in my room and change actual space-time as we know it? Because for a door to open that is 75 feet away, when my room's only at the most 12 feet long, he had to alter space-time to make the whole room into a different, to be able to fit something that far away inside that room. Space and time were altered, and most people that have experiences say that time and space did not feel the same. Andrew Basiago, this man claims that he was part of DARPA program and Project Pegasus. Now this Project Pegasus and the DARPA program, they messed around with time travel, and he said that they could open a door and step in through this door and actually travel into another time. And he claims that he has a picture of himself all the way back to the Gettysburg, and he is in that picture. He claims that picture is him, and I don't know for sure, but I seen a door opened up, and there was another dimension there. Now, how they can pinpoint and make this thing happen in such a way that where they can end up in a particular place at a particular time, I do not know. But I seen a door opened up, so I don't think it's impossible that his story is just a fable. I think that it is very possible. And another thing I noticed in a story that he told was he talked about jump rooms. Now, a jump room, it would be an elevator type room that he said he stepped into, and they would turn this thing on, and he said it would be a square type room, and then as it was turned on and began to function and work the way it's supposed to work, he said the dimensions of the room would change, and it would change into a round or oval shape, and he would be in there a while, and when it was done, it would go back to a square type shape, and then he would step out, and he was underground on Mars. That's his claims, and I seen that also in front of my own eyes that a room's dimensions can be changed. So this man's story, when he talks about a jump room, I think in a way I witnessed technology in play, in action, that is similar to what a jump room is, because my room was altered and the dimensions of the room was altered, and a doorway was opened up, and on the other side of that doorway was something, a totally different realm that was invading into this reality. And so I believe that Andrew Basiago may have actually, for real, been in a jump room and traveled to another place and stepped out. And that's amazing to me. So let's look at Andrew Basiago. If he really did work for the government and they were able to open a doorway and go into another time and or another place, that is definitely time and space altering type technology, which I think is one and the same. If you can travel in space and through dimensions, you can travel in time, because time and space are linked so closely that in the Hebrew they don't even have separate words for it. The word kudim in the Bible, when the Bible says that God planted a garden east of Eden, that word kudim means also time, like ancient antiquity, and it also means eastward, as like in a direction. So time and space are automatically tied together just in one word. So when we look at just something like that in the scriptures, I think we've interpreted things differently just because we didn't know different. But if you take a garden, the definition of a garden is an enclosure. So we have an enclosure, and Eden is a paradise. So they had an enclosure in paradise, and a tree that was in the midst of the garden. Now, the garden was planted eastward of Eden, eastward of paradise, which was an enclosure. So it looks to me like the tree was access to another dimension. And then when the fall of man happened, because they took the wrong tree, which trees are means basically kingdoms, because you look at in the book of Daniel, his tree was representative of a kingdom. So these trees in the beginning were kingdoms, dimensions is what I think they were. So you partake of the wrong time and place or dimension, then you lose this other time and place and dimension. And then what did God do? He said, we've got to basically put an angel here and a cherubim there to guard that dimension, that tree, and it had a sword that turned 4 different ways. And what is other than 3 dimensions? An extra dimension is 4. So this sword was able to guard a dimension, and somehow there was a gateway to another dimension, it looks like to me, that was guarded and was blocked, because lest they put their hand to it and live forever. Because in another dimension, in a 4th dimension, a spirit realm, we could live forever. I believe that that's exactly what God said. He meant exactly what he said, and he blocked that. And I think even the Tower of Babel, there's a couple places they think that they have found where the Tower of Babel was built, and they started, it was in a valley. Why would you do that? I think that they were also holding on some technology that was pre-flood, that there was something that they were doing there that was going to be punching a hole in time and space to reach God. How would you reach God other than being able to travel into another dimension? And you take these angels and fallen angels that can roam to and fro. Something that can go from heaven to earth has to travel through dimensions. So these beings are able to travel from one dimension into another dimension, into another dimension. However many dimensions there are, I do not know. You've got the 3rd heaven that Paul talked about. So they're going through these dimensions somehow. And I think that our government, and when you take the crash that they put in the newspaper in Roswell, and then they pulled that story. Now the Army's not stupid. The Air Force is not stupid. They put something in the paper that was true, and then when they figured out what these beings were, they pulled it from the paper and said, no, we were mistaken, because how could they tell us what was really going on? It's the only thing that makes sense to me, is that they found out that these beings were entities that were spiritual beings. And a lot of people think a spiritual being is different from humans. They're not. They're not different from humans in the way you think they are. They're different because they're made a little higher than we are. But what does that really mean? You can entertain an angel unaware. So you could actually run across an angel, talk to him, converse with him, eat with him, or whatever, and not even know it, because the scripture says you can. And so to think that they're that much different, there are some that are way different in appearance, and we're running across them. And I think that there's some kind of hybridation program going on that's similar to Genesis 6, that we find what's happening with the grays and what have you. But they're all deceiving spirits. They're all coming to steal, kill, and destroy. And their message, and they never deny that Jesus exists, and their message is always against God. And why is that so concerning to them? And that's a very deep question, and I know that a lot of people don't even want to go there when they talk about a subject like this, but that's my opinion on it, and anyone's welcome to have their own opinion. But I do believe that our government is in somehow with these type of beings, and have gleaned some of the technologies from them, because I'm hearing some stories, and the things that I've seen, they match, and it just, there's nothing else that makes sense. When you get down to it, the thing that seems improbable maybe is probable, and I really do believe that there are things going on in this world, and there are people who are experiencing abduction things, and we can only kind of speculate on exactly what's going on. But it seems to me that these things have technology. They're very similar to us, and the grays, that they look different, that's for sure. But there's beings that look exactly like us, and there's beings that look a little different, and then there's beings that look way different. But they're coming in and out of dimensions, and they are spiritual beings. They are not the same as we are in that aspect, and they're using technology because they have to use technology to get into this realm the way that they are doing it, and to be able to maintain themselves in this realm, I think, is taking technology, and they are also, I think, building themselves flesh bodies that are shells that they can inhabit, to carry out the things that they want to carry out in this realm. So that's the technologies that I've seen is what we looked at here, and it matches some of the things that we are messing with, like this God helmet thing, and I've seen right before my eyes something manipulate time and space and manipulate my mind and open up a door that was right in front of me, and you could step through that door, I guess, and where would you be? I don't know. But it was a very disturbing thing to see, and to think that someone like Andrew Basiago has actually done that with our government. That's a huge thing to even consider, that kind of thing's going on, and that our government would be in league with, or at least these black programs have some things going on with beings that are spiritual beings, and are gleaning technology and using that for whatever purposes they want, and that's amazing.